Welcome to Engine Adventures review of the 2019 Mercedes Sprinter 2500 passenger van. This one is four-wheel drive, and this is part 2. Normally we start out these tests in two-wheel drive and then shift to four-wheel drive high and then to four-wheel drive low, but this thing is so top-heavy and tipsy that I wanted to start in four-wheel drive low so that I could have the most control. It turns out that wasn't really necessary, but it did give me peace of mind during this test. As you can see, it doesn't have any problem making this climb. I was worried about the breakover angle, so I stopped once the front wheels get to the top. Moving on to the steep hill climb in two-wheel drive, the Sprinter van does just as well as any other vehicle has in two-wheel drive. None of them have made it past this point without shifting into four-wheel drive. In order to shift the Sprinter into four-wheel drive, you first hit the button on the left that looks like a center diff lock button. That one will engage high range, which will give a torque split of 35 to the front, 65 to the rear, and that is the same for low range. And then to engage low range, go ahead and put the transmission in neutral, and then you can push the button on the right, which looks like the van driving up the hill. Once it is locked in, you can go ahead and shift back into drive and continue on your way up the hill. In four-wheel drive high, the van lacks the torque necessary to overcome the braking of the spinning wheels and to make it climb the steep hill at the same time. In order to get more torque, we're going to go ahead and shift into four-wheel drive low. This changes the crawl ratio from 18.3 to 1 up to 26 to 1. The low range is a 1.43 to 1 transfer case, so it adds a little bit of torque. It's not as high as some of the pickup trucks that are 2.6 or 2.7 to 1. It does help here though, and we're able to make it out of this hole that we got stopped in four-wheel drive high. I am full throttle right here. It just doesn't have the torque it needs to make it. Eventually it does climb out of this hole, but that put a lot of heat into the transmission, and I was really nervous about overheating the transmission. So as we do a few more of these holes and have the same issue, I eventually stop the climb just to make sure that we don't do any damage to the vehicle. Again, I was nervous about carrying a lot of momentum through this as this thing is so top heavy, and I think it would have lost all of its momentum pretty quickly. You can see as it shifts, wheels that have traction, it lets them spin for just a second before it's able to apply the brakes to them, and that causes it to lose momentum. It's just too hard on it. I was full throttle there for a long time. It's just too hard in the van, so we're gonna call it quits. It might have been able to push that, but that would have been hard. Some things that the lift add to this vehicle are the approach and departure angle, and the breakover angles are all much better in the four-wheel drive version than the two-wheel drive version, and also it's much better in this van than any other van available on the market. The only other van that offers a four-wheel drive system is the Ford Transit with all-wheel drive. Other than that, you have to get an aftermarket four-wheel drive system put in. One other thing I'd like to add to all of my videos moving forward is the best system or layout in order to drive when off-roading. So in the case of this van, even if you're on a dirt road, go ahead and put it into four-wheel drive low. It has that 35-65 torque split front to rear, and the low range transfer case is only 1.42 to 1. So you really just aren't going to need to stay in four-wheel drive high, and in four-wheel drive low, you'll have a lot better torque management. You won't have any issues with the turbo lag like you do in four-wheel drive high. And overall, you'll just have a much better driving experience if you just go ahead and throw it in four-wheel drive low to start. Taking a look underneath, we can see the layout of the transfer case and how it's kind of tilted, where the front drive shaft sits significantly lower than the rear drive shaft. And this is why the vehicle is lifted so much. It needs that extra lift to be able to fit the transfer case in there and all of the other four-wheel drive equipment. We also see that underneath there aren't a lot of skid plates, not a lot of underbody protection, but there's also not much that hangs down low. Everything kind of sits up in between the frame rails and out of the way. All right, we're in four-wheel drive low. just because I was in it already from climbing that hill. And the engine braking is actually pretty good on this, and it has paddle shifters. You can shift it down into first gear and have it hold. But so let's hit, we're going 10 miles an hour here, and it gets pretty bumpy. This road's not too bad. It's not as bad as the upper section that I normally test on. You can hear, this thing's just so massive, you're gonna get a lot of rattling and stuff from the back. Not too bad, but like I said, once you get into anything that's a little bit more bumpy, it gets really rough and you have to go slow. This thing, most sedans and stuff would have no problem on this road, and that's why I'm able to go. I'm up at 20 miles an hour. And it's pretty easy to drive. You have really good field of view, which helps both off-road and on-road. And big bump there. The steering is simple, easy enough to use. It's nothing's like difficult to drive about this thing. Anyone can jump in and drive it no problem. And full throttle, and you can see it's nothing, 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 and then kind of takes off once it hits 2,000 RPM. So that took quite a while to get up to 60 miles an hour, but I don't know, it feels torquey once you hit that 2,000 RPM. Never really feels fast, doesn't feel high RPM. I'll put the power numbers up on the screen. This one, like I've mentioned before, it seems a lot more stable on the road than the tradesman model or work model or whatever you want to call it. This one just seems a lot quieter, more stable. It's still kind of noisy. Your cruising speed seems to be about 70 miles an hour. You can go a little faster pretty easily, but just for your normal highway cruising, 70 is a good spot to be. We're going 55 right now, so you can maybe judge the road noise. I don't know if you saw that convertible Suburban on the right-hand side there. I'll make sure and clip that for you. Get over. So, yeah, like I said, it's super easy to drive. The seating position is pretty good. You can adjust it and make it quite comfortable. It's more of sitting in a chair than, a lot of cars are like sitting in a beach chair where your legs are sticking straight out in front of you. Of course, this thing is more like a bus, and you're totally sitting at a dinner table chair. And it does have a lot of adjustability, though. You can make it just as comfortable as you need. All right, just merging onto the freeway here. And again, I'm still quite impressed with the stability of this versus the other van I drove. When you get the four-wheel drive system, they lift it quite a bit because they kind of mount the four-wheel drive system underneath everything else, and they need that extra room, so they raise everything up a bit. But like I said, this one remains pretty stable. It's no problem driving it, really. And easily on the on-ramp, getting up to speed, cruising, no problem. And right here, I'm going 70. I'm at 2,500 RPM. Red line's 4,000. It is a diesel, but I'm at least in the power range. So I don't have any turbo lag or anything up at this RPM if I need to pass somebody. Good cruising speed. The gas mileage, let's see if I can get the current. 16, 18 miles per gallon. I was accelerating a little bit. We're up to about 20. I think you're cruising around 20 miles per gallon at 70 miles an hour, so not too bad. Of course, there's little ups and downs all over, but like I said, my average going from my house to where we just filmed was 18 and a half, 19 miles per gallon. That included the short section of dirt road and then in town and stuff. So I think if you're just doing freeway only, that you're going to be able to get pretty good gas mileage, 20 miles per gallon, close to it. If you go a little slower, a little bit better. Thanks for watching Engine Adventures review of the 2019 Mercedes Sprinter 2500 four-wheel drive passenger version. If you liked what you saw, be sure to subscribe, ring the bell so you get notifications, and give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like it and you give me a thumbs down, be sure to comment down below and let me know why. Thanks for watching and have a great day.